we have 6 o'clock, so let's go ahead and rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll start by taking roll call. Guy.
Here.
Derek. Here. Ken.
Yes.
And Nate. Here. All right, any public comment for tonight?
Full house, I mean,
It's great.
no, good.
Everyone saw the short agenda tonight.
Yeah.
All right, so the meeting minutes were provided to the board in advance with the agenda. Any discussion on those minutes? All right, I will take a motion.
I'll put a motion to accept the minutes. I'll second that.
Motion brought by Ken, seconded by Derek. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes pass. And now we will take a treasurer's report.
We got papers, we're in there as normal. We're getting really close to the end of the year. Almost everything's on here, but not exactly. We still have the last payrolls for the summer. They get paid out on June 30th. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. We are working with all our grant claims to get them all in. I saw on the page register yesterday that almost everything's come in. There's 2 more that we have to deal with, but we can't submit those until the final payrolls are done because those will be part of the monies we have to claim. So we'll have to book those in yet for last year and they'll be as receivables, but otherwise we look pretty much on target. Colleen has been on vacation. She'll be back tomorrow. So there'll be a lot of quick cleanup before June 30th. But I think she and Andrea and I are working on procedures with everybody. So we should have less messy things crossing over the fiscal years from June to July. They did a lot of things with credit cards and trying to make sure that it's ordered this year, received this year. And if it's ordered for next year, it's the number 10 yet for next year's budget. So I think all those processes have gotten better over the last years. And those 2 have been really helpful in that way.
And so that grant thing, so that's why we're only at 63%, even with one on the revenue side, even with 1 month left.
Yes, there's a lot of it, the revenues, mostly the difference there is Fund 39. That all that money, we are receiving that yet. That has to be booked as receivable also because that's tax money coming in. And we over levied this year, as you can see, the numbers higher to keep our mill rate kind of level. So it's like $400,000-$500,000 that hasn't been brought in yet. And once that gets booked, then we'll be up to pretty close to regular.
Any questions? All right, I'll take a nomination on this one too.
Just one thing, what does, as far as the state level, as far as money coming this year, have you guys seen anything, heard anything?
Still have 3.5 thing, Dave.
Yeah. When we get to the item F or G, I have a very long story to tell you. Maybe that'll.
Okay.
That'll clarify. Grandpa's gonna tell stories.
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report. I'll second that.
All right, motion by Derek and second by Nate. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Any questions on the payroll vouchers as listed in the materials today? All right, well then, I will make a motion to approve vouchers 424-509 through 424-688. And vouchers 2022-00593 through 2022-00656 in the amount of $437,988.14.
I'll second it.
Brought by Jeff, seconded by Guy. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes. Can we get an update on gifts and donations?
Yeah, so just a few this month, yet another donations for Skills USA by Rick Bachpop. And then Fall River Booster Club had some very generous donations for softball, volleyball, and track, just for some equipment that those sports needed.
Cool. All right, so moving then on to new business, we'll take a spring activities report.
So in your packet, you will see, I think there's 5 pages of summary for each of the. Spring sports, both middle school and high school, as well as the high school award winners. I'm not gonna go through and read all of that, you was there, if you have any questions or anything, we've had successful seasons. It was a good year.
I could add something to that.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see the kids made all conference and placed in track, but also middle schooler Gus Ladwig. Went for the national track meet because he qualified with some times he had in distances. And you saw it on Facebook today, he finished in the middle of it was Eugene, Oregon, where they do Olympic trials usually. We got a picture of him on Facebook standing in the stadium. He finished middle of the pack in the 100 and 200, but in the long jump, he jumped almost 18 feet.
We missed places.
And he got 7th place. He missed the podium by 1 spot. So that's pretty incredible for an 8th grader to jump almost 18 feet. Yeah, so what an experience for one of our kids.
That's cool. We need a motion on the activity report. All right, so we will then discuss the school nutrition online contract.
Yeah, so I'll go over that. DPI has continued to kind of let schools choose where their prices are gonna be at, since COVID, I believe. And they pretty much say, as long as you are not in the red, you can choose your prices. So Dennis and I had talked and agreed just to keep them the same for this year. Because we actually are in quite a surplus for our food service balance, and to not increase those prices quite yet.
We had $150,000 surplus coming into this year. We didn't figure that we could get wiped out. In fact, I think we'll come out almost dead even this year. And DPI made us spend some money. Remember, we ordered the dishwasher, which I probably hasn't gone in yet, but we have to spend some of that money to get that fund balance down to where they believe is more acceptable. So we don't want to increase prices while we have a surplus higher than they said, so. Give everyone a break.
Yeah, I'm thinking in the next couple of years, they'll probably make us increase those prices slowly. But they kind of have a formula for us to do that so that it's not a huge jump all at one time.
Probably been this price for 5 years, or at least 4.
Since before COVID, yeah.
Yeah. Nice for families. Yep.
Any questions on the food prices? All right, well, I will accept the motion to keep food service prices the same as prior year, as stated in the contract.
I'll put a motion forward to accept the 2023-24 meal prices. I'll second that.
We have a motion by Ken, seconded by Derek. Any further questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, moving on to the revolving line of credit with Farmers and Merchants.
Annually, we had a revolving line of credit available through Farmers and Merchants to the bank. Casey needed it. This past year, I think was the first year we did not need it. We had $800,000. We want to drop it a little bit this year. It's better for the bank. They don't have to hold the reserve quite as much for us. But we still thought, just in case, it's nice to have money there in case we needed to make payroll while we're waiting for property taxes to come in or state aid payments come in. So it's very, very similar to what we've done in the past, but we lowered the amount a little bit, which makes it a little bit easier on our bank.
Just more personal interest. Do you remember what that interest rate was last year? I know we didn't use it.
I do not remember.
It was 0.
I don't remember what the projected rate was, but I'm sure it was quite a bit lower.
I was just gonna say, I know it's quite a bit higher this year, but
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what.
Any further questions or discussion on the line of credit? I will take a motion to approve the terms as stated in the revolving line of credit with Farmers and Merchants Union.
I'll make the motion to approve the contract for our Farmers and Merchants. I think. Farmers and Merchants.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Nate, seconded by Guy. Any further discussion? All those in favor, vote aye. All those opposed.
We will need quite a few signatures on that, after the meeting is over, so.
Done already.
Oh, I don't think game.
And you get to go to the bank. Next, our next item for discussion and action is the WIA membership renewal.
So the WIA renewal, we have your, it's kind of an annual thing. About 7 years ago, 6 years ago, they dropped the fee and there's no cost to be part of the WIA anymore. But there, just need to know what teams we have, and if we want to be a member, that we will abide by the rules of the association and not sue the association if they back those rules up, which we have appeals every so often, like there were 3 today up in Stevens Point we had. And then, we get to be part of the tournament series, so. Well, if we get it, when goes to state next year, even just participate in the regions, they are part of it again, for the big regions.
With respect to the co-op, are we being approached on any other sports to be co-op or?
Not that I've heard.
Nothing, no, I think there's a parent or two who's wondered about something, but nothing's been pushed forward.
Is this, it says wrestling as a non-contact, is that right?
Because, who's the contact for that? We're the contact for football, rivals, contact for cross country, but now the contact is. Yeah, it's not non-contact wrestling.
I'm kind of confused.
Virtual wrestling.
Yeah, I had no idea what's going on.
I don't know who is Randall.
I was thinking Randall, but I don't know for sure.
All right, any further questions on the WIA membership renewal? All right, well then, I will take a motion to accept.
Make a motion to approve the WI membership renewal.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Derek, second by Nate. Any further discussion? All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, it looks like we have 4 early graduation requests.
Yes, we have 4 students who are going to be seniors next year who have put in their request for early graduation. The first one is looking to complete some credits this summer, just to make sure that he can do his work experience while also getting the other credits that he needs. And then the other 3 are right on track to be able to graduate with no problems.
You're supportive of each of the 4 takes?
And
Any questions from the board?
Were these kids all seniors this year or?
they will be seniors this upcoming year.
So the January 18th, I'm assuming is 2024, not
Correct. Is it
2023.
the wrong date on there?
Yeah,
Right.
but that's like,
For which one is it? So that.
I think all of them.
Well, the brief tutor is crossed off and someone put forces.
Oh, okay, so I guess, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I see on Willie's it was, yeah, I'll talk to Amy and ask her to switch that.
Yeah, I think this Nazar
Yeah,
first is,
oh, Nizar's as well. Okay.
yes,
I'll talk with her and ask her to switch that.
do we have to do them individually or?
Yeah, does anybody feel they need to?
I mean, I don't.
All right, I will take a motion to approve or accept the 4 early graduation requests with the contingency on the January 2024 change.
I'll make a motion to accept the early graduation request of the 4 students.
I'll second that.
One quick question.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. How many credits do you need to graduate your exact?
Oh geez, now you're putting me on the spot.
there is-
It is 25.
Okay, because there's Breeze and Nazar's, there's 2 different numbers for total credits earned and some of them credits needed to graduate.
With the ones that they're taking, which so I'm on Breeze. So I'm gonna look at Breeze first. So she's at 25. What is your question? Can you say it again? please?
Yeah, so we're just looking at Breeze, it looks like there's 18 credits earned to date and then 3.5 needed needed during the final semester. Unless there's something.
Yeah.
my guess, okay, so this is my guess, is that it doesn't have her semester for,
This last.
this last
Okay.
semester factored into it yet.
Okay.
Because we wouldn't have posted grades by then, so I was looking at the dates for when they were individually pulled, because some of them were pulled in, April.
Oh, yeah, these are both April. Yeah, the others are.
4, 5, 4,
I
5.
suppose in her head, she was thinking, right, that it was 3.5 credits, but she didn't.
Right.
Total
It's
Credits.
a page, okay.
No, it should be fine, because like if you look at, yeah, if you look at Kaylee's, her grade 11 term 2 is on there. But Bree's grade 11 term 2 versus are already on there as well.
When even Kaylee says 18.5 and then 3 needed the final semester, such would it be? The same.
That's 21, 21 and a half.
This is all.
So she's got the writing on the right-hand side. I'm questioning if maybe she's going to end up getting those other credits.
Okay,
I'll look at it.
okay.
We want to hold it for now?
Yeah, you can hold it for July if you want to. Bring it back in the.
Probably would be. better.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we will table the, for early graduation request until next week. All right, now the big one, on to the Neola policy.
Andrew wants to read these, word for word, Howard.
Yeah.
But we now that we are into the process, we've adopted all the policies, now it's simply about every 6 months, we'll have revisions. So the smaller packet than originally had. So the 4 of us met with the Neola representative, went through them, then we met with Guy and Derek as part of the policy committee, went over all these, got their opinion. We came up with these final drafts that we got from our group in the committee. Then the first 2 pages you get, this comes from NOLA for all the potential policies that could be. Not every one of these ones that are in our packet that we adopted, but at least this gives you a thumbnail sketch of what each policy is about. So if you look at that, then you can go into the reference of what they're there. I will only highlight a couple of these. If you look at the sheet policy 3215 and 4215. The 3,000 is professional staff, and 4,000 are support staff. And what they're looking at there is derivatives of marijuana and hemp like Delta products. But those are included now as something that is banned on school ground. That's one thing just to notice in here. Another one I noticed is the very end of this policy 8800 and 8802. This used to all be in one. Patriotic and religious activities of service used to all be in one policy. And now the order has separated these out. So there's one on religious, one on patriotic, which they felt made more sense to separate those two because they are really not linked. And have 2 separate policies. But as you get these each time, this gives you the thumbnail sketch. And these are the weeds if you want to dig deep into that, but this is what I, as a group and then the committee came up with. Tonight we'd ask for a first reading of the policies, the second reading. It would be next month, and after that, you tell Neola that we adopted what we had here. And then they'll go on to our online and change them online, so everyone can see what the new policies are, and they'll be updated automatically for us. It's a quick process.
We need a motion for the first reading. All right. But any further comment from the board members that are on the policy committee?
No, like you said, that first cover page is really helpful and handy. Especially if it's revised or if it's new, that just.
All right, well, I will accept a motion, or I will take a motion to accept the first reading of the updated Neola policies.
I'll make a motion to accept the first reading of the updated Neola policies.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Guy, seconded by Derek. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor, vote aye. Aye. All those opposed. Now, section G.
Story time.
Budget.
The budget we adopted for this year technically had a deficit, and we were going to use the rest of the ESSER COVID relief money to fill that gap. And as I started hearing nationally, when they talked about the bill to the Republicans and Democrats about how they're going to the debt limit ceiling that they were dealing with, They said, one thing, they're gonna start calling back some of the extra money, but well, I need to get all that claimed, because we had $176,000 out there that I want to say get clawed back. I don't think it would have, but I wanted it claimed and got here. So those claims are all in the process of being done before anything happens federally, but I think we're gonna get that money anyway. So anyway, that was gonna balance out this year, the rest of the COVID money. And then as we looked into this second half of the year, we added the counselor, we added a special ed teacher because we had those severe needs. And then we looked into next year, a tech ed teacher and another partial social study teacher who we felt that's what's best for our kids. We thought the state may cover that or they may not. If they don't, it's possible we'd be looking to referendum this spring. And that was the thought as we did all that, because we were just kind of flying blind because we had no idea what the state was going to do. You heard recently that the governor and the Republican leaders in the Senate and Assembly have come to an agreement where they were going to add $325 this coming year to the revenue limits and another $325 the following year to the revenue limits. They also then were going to increase the low revenue limit ceiling, which it was at $10,000 and we were above $10,000. So we were never low enough that kicked us up and added extra money to us. But they're going to change that from 11,000 to 10,000 to 11,000. So the process, the way we understand this, the details are not 100% known, so we're still kind of guessing. But when I talk to people, it sounds like you add 325 to your revenue limit. If you don't hit 11,000, then you get to go up to 11,000 and give you that much. I read someplace that it didn't seem to me like then they would give you 325 the next year if you use that. But I talked to the gentleman's name is Dan Rossmiller today, so there's first and last name. I was at WIDD today for our monthly board meeting, and he was the lobbyist for the School Board Association. But now John Ashley, he was the president of your School Board Association, he retired, and Dan became now the new executive director. And the executive director from WASB always comes to our monthly meetings at Stevens Point to talk about what's going on in the schools and how the relationship sports and schools, so that those two organizations can work well together. So he was there today. He started talking to me. I said, well, I've got a question for you. How is this going to work? Since he was a lobbyist, I thought he'd have a very good idea because he was involved in some of those discussions between the two parties who were negotiating that compromise. He says, and if he's correct, that we can move our up to the $11,000 and then next year add 325 to that, which would then get us over 11,000 per pupil. If that's all accurate, I'm not really worried about referendum for a while, if that's all accurate. And it's partially dependent, the open enrollment numbers, are they continuing positive that we expect? Are our pupil count numbers continuing to be positive that we expect? And we still haven't hired the math teacher. So there are some unknowns yet, but based on all that, it looks like we probably are going to be okay this year. In fact, raising our low revenue limit to 11,000 very likely will pay for those 4 additional staff members we went out on faith. And I think that could all be covered or close to be covered with this new proposal that's been agreed to, because we can go up to $11,000. By the time we get to the July meeting, it'll all probably be signed into law, and everyone will break it down and tell us exactly what we're getting. And there's lots of little other details in it, like special ed reimbursement and some mental health grant money. So there's other details that we don't know for sure. But at this point, I'm feeling pretty good about it, that I think we're going to be up to where we need to be. And I'm hopeful that we aren't really looking at a referendum for a while. If that's true, if all this works out by October, when the final numbers for pupil count, open enrollment are in, and we adopt the final budget for this school year, and then we'll have the exact numbers to project on the Berg model for next year. If that's all true, then we can put a nice notice to our community through the newsletter where we have talked about possible referendum. We say the legislators come through. We aren't considering that in the next couple of years, which would be nice for them to know that their legislators came through for them and for school districts in Wisconsin. So right now it looks pretty good, but the weeds, the details are always in. Will tell us the final story, and then pupil count, open enrollment when we get to this fall. Exactly how many people they're going to be here. So that's story time with Dennis.
Is there a sponsor that we get throw in?
Yeah, your company.
Remind me the per pupil number for this year.
Pardon me?
What was the per pupil number for this year? 10 something?
You're at 10,164. And now add 325 to that, and we'd add another, or we gotta go over $800. The question, well, what's that gonna do to our tax? Because we're adding all that money. Well, this year we over levied, like you saw in the treasury report, to keep our mill rate about the same, so we over levied by a whole bunch to keep it up. Well, now what we over levied is just really part of what our levy will be. I showed these two tonight, the model and the revenue limit sheet, and actually, even with this increased revenue limit authority, our mill rate could go down. So it could be really good news.
Yeah.
I'm holding my breath. Is this really true? But I'm hopeful.
Do we, is there any discussion about the pool, getting that fixed? I mean,
We looked at our prognosis for going forward. If you really get to do the 325 again the following year, I think that could pay for the pool. I mean, the guts of the pool is already in the works. We approved that and hoping that that'll be taken care of. They're gonna try to get to it this next week.
I mean, I'm only one of five here, but for me, I think that I would much rather, as a taxpayer in this community, I would much rather keep that mill rate level rather than going down. Extra money will always be good for the school, you know, as far as fixing the pool or hiring another teacher or,
If we wanted to go to referendum for that, we can.
you know, I don't talking referendum. I just talking about keeping that mill rate level is as long as we can. I'd much rather not see a dip.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, 2 years later, oh, hey, we've got to go to referendum because we need money. I'd rather have a little windfall than having that thing go down and then have to have a referendum and then, 5 years later, it can go down.
Yeah.
Let's just, I much would, Matt,
The
that's my
revenue-
opinion.
The
I'd rather
revenue
keep it
limits
level.
tell us you can only ask for this much.
Yeah,
And then if we want more than what's on that sheet, then for extra things like that, then we have to go ask for it.
okay.
Well, how I can't remember, I think it's just a few kids that we had on vouchers. For,
Yeah, that's gonna go up a little bit too.
yeah,
About
I just wondering,
$20,000 probably.
Okay, so it's wonderful.
78,000 to 97,000 is my estimate,
okay,
that we tax our community, spend in private schools.
Yep.
Six.
I knew that was kind of the. I think you just say good compromise, no one of these happening, that was kind of like the downside of this compromise, was
That,
like,
yeah, that was their compromise, so the voucher people got some money, but we were getting some money too. And the whole idea of the low revenue limit, because when the revenue limits went in decades ago, I think Thompson was the governor at the time. Wherever you were spending, you just got froze there, and you got little increments from there, so if you were a low spending district, you stayed there, if you were a high spending district, you stayed there. So there's a great disparity, so this would help some of the districts that have been fiscally conservative for decades get a little bit caught up. So this could be really good timing for fall.
The one thing I'd say as well is when we approved teacher salary adjustments for this year, we didn't know what that number was gonna be, and we said, hey, let's revisit it perhaps once we know what the real number is. So maybe just a topic for finance committee or something, of kind of saying, now that we know what the numbers
When
are.
we get the final numbers,
Yeah.
we can have that discussion. Okay, yeah, I think it'll still be close one way or the other,
Mhm.
but at least we're in the ballpark.
Yep.
and perhaps the final student count too in September.
That'll be huge.
Yeah.
You know, if we have a few less students, a few less open enrolled, you know, every kid's 10 grand. 5 kids, okay, we're down 50 grand now but if you get an extra 5 kids, we got an extra 50 grand. So it's all a guess at this time. We make decisions based on the knowledge we have at the time. What'll help is when we get to October and it's all finalized for this year, we already know the plan for next year because it's set in a 2-year budget from the state. We'll know exactly what we got this year, we know exactly what we're getting the next year, and the only variable then is people count and other things that may happen.
I know open enrollment had to be signed by February, isn't it usually the first week in February?
Yeah, at the end of February, people had a habit.
I mean, are our
Or end of
numbers
March, whatever it was.
looking positive again for us
It,
this year?
it looks like we'll have more kids coming than leaving again, like another 12, 15 more. That's part of why I was optimistic about this. It's possible we'll have more kids in than out this fall. That's a possibility.
Let's all be extra charming in the next few months to keep it.
Well, are you gonna talk about what you did the other night? Okay.
Well, like you
I'll
said,
leave that
that's
for-
talks highly of the school. If you can, I mean, I can remember when I got on the board, I think we were minus 67. 67 kids, more kids going
Yeah.
out than coming in.
Over $500,000 we were losing.
And if you can turn that around in 3 or 4 years, I think it talks highly of the school and the staff.
Well, I think that's what's kept us afloat this long. We were down like $550,000 in open enrollment, and this year we looked at it, maybe 80,000, only $470,000 difference. Just by doing things that people want to come here.
Yeah.
That's me.
I assume we don't need a motion for story time.
No, it's such a.
All right, we will then move on to the FFA leadership.
Would you be okay if we circle back to the early grads? Because I was right, it is that last semester wasn't in on the credits. So I went back through and added them all up and they're all, so the numbers that she had handwritten on their transcripts. Those were the additional credits that each student had. So like Bree Hutter currently has 21.5, which is where those other credits are coming from. Haley's was, oh, I don't think we can look up Haley's. Willie Dykstra that currently at 22 credits and Nazar is currently at 21.5. So it was, those handwritten credits were needed to be added in, those were the semester 2 credits.
Yeah, so does our motion count then, or who's it?
Yeah, let's take a new motion. I never raised.
I'll tell you, I'll make a motion to accept the 4 early grads.
I'll second. I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Guy, a second by Nate to approve the early graduation request for students presented. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, done. Now we will talk about the FFA leadership retreat.
So Mr. Syker and Mr. Christian would like to take our students to the FFA leadership retreat in Sparta. This will provide the students the opportunity to be able to not only network with each other and really take some time to individually work as a group to get things organized with our own chapter here, but also network and collaborate with other students and other groups, other FFA teams, I think they're called. Groups, teams, clubs, I don't know, FFA, what's it called? Anybody know?
Chapters, there you go.
Okay, other FFA chapters, so this will just give the kids an opportunity to be able to jumpstart their activity or their FFA chapter and to get things organized before the school year started. It would be an overnight trip, which is why it needs to come to you.
How many kids we got
I'll say
going?
what's the number.
He did not tell me how many kids were coming. I don't know the answer to that.
Do we have like a required ratio of students per chaperone or?
There are 2 students going, there's not a specific requirement that I am aware of per the policies.
Any questions, concerns?
No.
All right, I will take a motion to approve the FFA leadership retreat.
I'll make a motion to approve the FFA leadership retreat.
I'll second that. All right, motion by Derek, second by Ken. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we will move on to Dr. Treptow's report.
So first I want to thank everybody that participated and helped with graduation, for everybody that was there. It was a beautiful day. The ceremony went very well. It just overall was, I thought, a very good, for my first year, a great ceremony. So I just want to thank everybody for that. And then I also wanted to take a few minutes to thank Brian Anderson. Again, I know I feel like a broken record on this, and our summer maintenance crew. They have been, as you walk through the building, you can see it, they have been doing some remarkable things with our building. Everything from transforming classrooms as we make way or make room for our additional staff. To painting everything, to replacing things. And they're working hard already on renovating the room for, Mr. Christian for FFA. So they've been working really hard and I want to thank them as well. Couple updates. We are currently still in the process of hiring math. I have 2 potential candidates I'm looking at. One is a candidate who has already applied. I'd like to reach out to him again. It's not originally had it inquired about a different position in a different district, but it sounds like from the grapevine that he did not accept that position. So I was going to reach out to him. And then we also have another potential just through social networks that we're working on with that. So that's where we're at with hiring Matt. Dennis had alluded to an event that we had back in May. Holly Trotter approached me with the idea of having an orientation and building tour for any of our parents and students who were considering open enrolling to our district, and then also for any of those people who might be new to our district and have moved in. So on Tuesday, we had our first new student orientation. We had 6 families attend. We talked about all of the extracurricular opportunities that we have. We talked about briefly about our grading practices. We're going to do a little bit more of that with the second one that we have. And then we also talked about scheduling, and Mrs. Liebenthal was here to be able to work with any kids that wanted to talk about scheduling. And then Mrs. Trotter, Mrs. Liebenthal, and I broke the families into 3 different groups, and we took them all on building tours around our school. And then met back in the entryway by the office and just had some additional questions and answers that any families might have. So it was, I thought, very successful. It was, it was kind of a short notice thing. We got I emailed all of the families that had open enrolled into our district early last week and said, hey, we'd like to offer this. We're also doing another one August 14th. And so we should have another update on that August 8th, from 5 to 6. So I'll let you know how that one goes. Actually, Ryan's gonna run that one, at our August 4th meeting. And then Ryan.
That was a great idea.
It
I
was.
thought that was really.
It was great, yeah. I told Holly, I'm like, I love it. And originally we were just gonna do one in August. And she said, no, I think really like we need to focus on our open enrolled people because they're deciding like, are we gonna actually come here or are we not? So kudos to her for pushing that, because I was like, well, let's do it in August. That way everything, registration's done. And yeah, she was like, no, I think we need to do it soon. And we did, and it was really, I thought it was very successful.
I just got an email from a family that attended that, very excited to come, so. Yep.
Ryan and I also put together, we've been doing a lot, this is when we get a lot of our work done for the following year. So we put together a team where we're going to work on getting together a strategic plan for our school. We're not sure yet if it's going to be a 1-year or a 3-year strategic plan, depending on where we end up with that team. That's going to be on August 14th. We're going to start by doing a SWOT analysis of our building, like what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses, what opportunities do we have to grow, and what are some of those threats that we have to our organization. And then from there, working with our team, we're going to come up with, okay, what do we need to do and what does that look like? So depending on what the goals are that come out of that meeting, at that point, we'll have some sort of a plan. The timeline of that plan will be dependent on the goals that we agree on or that we decide on would be best for our district. And then last, the middle school, high school IXL scores were sent home at the end of the year. I'm currently in the process of working with Mrs. Hayden on analyzing the pre-post scores for our diagnostics that were taken in the fall for both math and ELA. And then our end of year testing that was done here at the beginning of May, everyone needed to be done by May 19th. So I'm looking at that after preliminarily creating growth charts. The vast majority of our students did have some sort of growth, but I'll get all of that data and that information for you once I'm finished, more than likely at the SWOT meeting. And that's all I have.
The SWOT analysis, is that just you and Ryan?
No, it'll be with our team as
It'll
well.
be with, okay.
Yep, so we have 2, it'll be Ryan and I will be there, Mrs. Hayden, We have 2 high school teachers, 1 middle school teacher, and then 2 elementary teachers. Yeah, oh, that's, yeah.
Love that idea, by the way.
Helps us that, like, cause we can sit in our office and go, what do we think that our goals for next year should be? And I think all year we've kind of been talking, like, hey, we should maybe focus on this, and then the next thing is, it's like, we should really focus on that. And so I think it's a good way of just when, not just the two of us, but as an organization, that helps us then, what is our focus, who have leaders?
Very cool. All right, Mr. Ray, your report?
All right, it's gonna be fairly similar, because we're kind of doing some of the same things. So some of the things I've been working on, this month is updating my handbook, or that I'll present to you most likely, I should do that next month. Student handbooks for approval. So updating that, looking at our updated policy, and trying to match, any updates in the handbook. Also gave a tour to a family. The number one thing, I know all this is talked about. The referendum, I know is the last one. You know, it passed, I know it passed narrowly. Every family I've toured since I've been here since that referendum, I said, what a great facility we have. This, our grounds, our building, our pool, they're very impressed walking through. Again, I heard that with a family I walked through a couple weeks ago with 2 kiddos, and came in, and the family is from a bigger district that has a lot in that district, and walked through and was like, wow. For a small district, you guys are doing really well. And so I'll be split up to our complex yet, like, I'm like, well, that way, take the right and see that too, and that'll, I'm sure that they did that and that, but it's kind of like, Chanel and caught in front of, wow, we are excited to come here, so good job. Meeting members, thank you for your support on that, I think it's been very impressive with families. I'm also taking time this summer to look at our special ed numbers for next year, with the new staff member, and then kind of look at how our this caseload is going to look for next year, who's supporting each kiddo, so we've been working on that also. And then a couple of thank yous, that Maria Kutzler has been doing summer school this year for principal licensure. She's been doing a great job of it. It's going very smooth. I'm here to support her every day. She asks really good questions. We have really good conversations about all sorts of things other than summer school, whether it's budgeting, classrooms, things like that. She's been doing a really nice job, and I think she should be recognized. Mr. Anderson, again, I wrote that down too. He's been just doing a really great job. He's really good at, one thing I'm working on being specific feedback, and one of those pieces for him is really good at being strategic and what he's doing. So he's very strategic on how we clean rooms and what rooms next and all of that. So he's very good at that, the director part of his job. And I think he should be recognized for that, because there's a lot to manage in his role. He's doing a good job of directing that, making sure things are happening when it needs to happen. And then the last one I would say is Kendra Hayden and my staff. As you know, Mr. Berg gave us hours this summer. My staff was coming in. First grade was in today with Hayden. They're doing a great job. I've seen some of their work. They're working on pacing guides, standards, rubrics, and then their trimester evidence. And then I think they're finding that time really valuable, so that I told them I want this done this summer. So by the first day of school, these things are done, so that you go into the school year ready to go. You want to do those things. Because there's been years where we're like, hey, we still didn't finish that. We'll get that now. So thank you, Mr. Bush, for giving us that time. And then Kendra did a great job giving me the I-rating scores to kind of I've taken a look at some of that. I'll also present that piece from Excel next month. I-rating scores, our growth looks really good. Now the next thing I'm looking at is our stretch growth. You always want to hit your growth target, and but I want to see if we're also hitting that stretch growth. And last year I presented that's a little bit more lofty goal. You want about 25% of it. You can get, there's a percentage, if you can hit that, that's pretty good. So I'm looking at each grade level to see how we're doing on that. I'll have that.
Has the new athletic director been in yet?
Yeah, he met with Dave a couple days, yeah.
last week. His first day, I believe, is July 8th. He and I are gonna be getting together that week to go over like the athletic handbook, co-curricular code handbook, and just kind of ironing out some of those things, that I wasn't a part of last year, but now I'd like to dive into some of that with him.
I know he's been very active already with the coaches.
He's got a bunch of coaches going to a conference in June.
I had heard that from one of the coaches too, but I didn't know if he had actually been on campus.
Yeah, he's contacted all them, and he sent a really good email to staff, introducing himself and how excited he is to be here, and his background as a teacher, I think, is gonna come in pretty handy. His connection with kids and connection with other staff, because he's been in a classroom with kids. That's helpful.
I know he's down to the Broad Fry. I saw him down there with Dave.
He went down with Dave and-
Yeah.
Given his strength and conditioning background, have we tried to introduce him to summer strength and speed to see if that?
I was on vacation last week when he was in.
I don't know.
I don't think he got out there.
When they had the meeting, he was all in on that.
Okay, yeah,
I don't know that would be the summer, but I think.
Yeah, he didn't call his speed and strength. He had some, it was something else, but it was very similar to the weightlifting and stuff programs and yeah, he was big on that.
yeah. I just thought it'd be cool for him to see, you know, because it's, I think it's pretty cool how many kids are in that, you know, the 8 o'clock, the 9 o'clock session.
It's interesting how many young ladies are there. There's a lot of girls. It's really good to see. Sometimes those are guys.
Is Eric Schultz down there? every day?
Yes, I think that's a big reason. why. He's got the girls.
His fourth and fifth.
Daughter, the friends come in.
Huh?
He forces his daughter. and her friends
He's
to come in.
really good at connecting with young women. Absolutely fantastic. He is. He's really good. He's absolutely fantastic. I don't know if you guys know that personally, but he does a heck of a job connecting with young women. They'd run through the drywall over there for him if he told them to.
Well, like it's a specialized teacher too.
Yeah, awesome. That's fantastic.
Connects with very well.
Yeah.
We're lucky to keep people that come around.
Absolutely.
All right, any questions from Burr, Dr. Crypto? All right, Mr. Burr, on to you.
You can read my first part, almost everything I have thought about has been talked about already tonight that we've been working on and dealing with. I will mention that I am the second part there that I leave Monday to attend the National Federation of High School Athletics Association annual meeting in Seattle. This is the third time I've gotten to go to the national convention, and when you go to a national convention, they bring in much bigger time speakers and events, and it's really a very cool experience. To me, it's kind of like when some school board members go with me to the state convention in Milwaukee. This now, when we as board members, because I'm the board member going with the WI staff, and I've been to Indianapolis, Chicago, and now Seattle for this. And one of the things they do is have a Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I think it's Tony Romo that's going into the National Federation Hall of Fame. So he would be there, and we'll go to that banquet one of those nights. And we're going a couple days early, a couple days later to explore Seattle a little bit too longer going that far. And of course, it's at no cost to our district because I'm on the board, so the WI pays on and city is paying along a little bit of cost. So that's kind of nice. The other thing that I learned today at the meetings is I asked one of the athletic directors on the board, Dan, he's at Green Bay Preble, what's the life expectancy of an athletic director in a school district? And then they started talking about the average of tenure of a superintendent's around 2.5 to 3 years. That's the average. And started to find out that for ADs, it's not a whole lot longer than that. There's about as much turnover in ADs as there are superintendents. So I would say 4 years maybe is kind of an average around the state of athletic director turnover. I know we talked about that as we're interviewing, and we would like to have done 15 years.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah. Just, it surprised me because I just never thought about it. They started talking about it today. It's like, well, how often do they turn over? Is what we're seeing here common? I had no idea, so I just wanted to find out, but I thought that might be food for thought.
That's a great question you asked.
Yeah, because I never thought about it until today out there. I thought, well, I'm up there, I must find out some information.
When you talked to him, was that AD only or was that like a AD rec?
It's AD,
Okay,
whatever, however it's connected. It could be AD being a student, AD rec. strictly AD. The guy, one guy sitting next to, he's been there in Green Bay trouble for 16 years. But he said it's really common that it's young people who get into the AD role, they're all excited, then they have kids, then they want to get out of the AD role. Once the kids are older and graduate, his kids are all at school, then you get back into it, or are more interested in it again.
That makes all the sense in the world.
It was really interesting to find out, because on the board, there's 11 of us, and 3 of them are ADs. So it was interesting to talk to him, plus someone else was talking about the new AD orientation, and there's like 60 new ADs coming in for like 400 students.
10%.
Yeah, it was good to hear how it's working around the state and find out we're kind of normal. We get 4 or 5 good years out of somebody, like 4 this year, 5 years. That's not unusual. If I go 10, back 15, but
Yeah, we just gotta avoid these 1 years.
aberration, I hope.
All right, any questions for Mr. Burke? Any other discussion topics? All right, well then I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Motion by Nate, second by Derek. All those in favor, vote on it.
That's